All right, guys, so I'm gonna explain the best I can through here what are the direct and indirect object pronouns. Um, this is touched in the book by chapter 6 and chapter 7. Chapter 6 focuses more on direct objects, but we're gonna see both. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover it all at once. Okay, so let's go ahead. So the first thing is, what are the direct and indirect objects in a sentence? Okay, so a direct object is the direct recipient of the action of the verb. It can be a person or it can be a thing, okay? And in order to know what's a direct object in a sentence, you're gonna ask what or who to the verb, okay? We're gonna see example in a moment. The indirect object is the indirect recipient of the action of the verb, and it's always a person. And in order to know what the indirect object is in a sentence, you're going to ask to or for whom to the verb, okay? Like for whom. Okay. So let's think of this sentence, okay? Enrique buys a cheap t-shirt for his wife, which in Spanish will be translated as Enrique compra una camiseta barata para su esposa. Okay, so we're gonna ask. Remember, in order to know what the direct object is, we're gonna ask what or who to the verb, right? So who or what was bought? Okay, a cheap T-shirt, right? Una camiseta barata. All right, that's the direct object. Now the indirect object, you're gonna ask for whom? For his wife, right? Para su esposa. Okay, so that's an indirect object. So that's the first thing when you have a sentence, right? Figuring out what the direct object and indirect object are. Okay, so we've done that already. Now, keep in mind though that sentences can have a direct and indirect object, just a direct object, just an indirect object, or neither. Okay? The example we're using has both. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to substitute the direct and indirect objects for the pronouns. Okay. So in English, this will be the object pronouns. In English, you guys don't make a difference between direct and indirect object. The pronouns are the same regardless. Okay, and these are the ones. Right? So Enrique buys a cheap t-shirt for his wife. When you substitute for the pronouns, you would say Enrique buys it for her. Okay? Now let's see how it goes in Spanish. Okay, these are the direct, yeah, and indirect object pronouns in Spanish. Okay. All right, so now let's substitute. Okay. So the direct object, the indirect object, we already saw that in one of the previous slides, right? Okay. So we're gonna substitute the direct object for its pronoun. If you go to the previous slide, or you take a look in the book at the pronouns, you'll see that you have to substitute the direct object there for la, right? So a cheap t-shirt in English would be it, right? It in Spanish could be lo or la. In this case, we're gonna use la because it's camiseta, which is feminine, right? Indirect object will be le. Again, go back to the chart and you'll see that the correct pronoun will be le in this case to substitute. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is place these pronouns, create a new sentence, and instead of saying Enrique buys a cheap t-shirt for his wife, we're gonna say Enrique buys it for her, but in Spanish. How do we do that? Okay, so the order goes as follows. The indirect object pronoun is gonna go first. Okay. So we have Enrique, okay? So we're going to put le, okay, before anything else. Then we're going to put the direct object pronoun, la. And then we're going to put the verb. Enrique le la compra. The A should be after the R. Okay, so that's the order. So when we substitute direct and indirect objects for the pronouns, the order is, well, subject goes first, okay, Enrique in this case. The order is first indirect object pronoun, then direct object pronoun, and then the verb. Okay? So Enrique lee la compra. That would be the way to do it. A quick thing though to mention here is in any, so that would be it, and you'll be done. You'll be saying here, Enrique buys it for her, okay? But in any sentence that has both direct and indirect object pronouns, like this one, if both pronouns start with the letter L, in this case, they both start with L, right? Le and la. The first pronoun switches to se automatically, always, okay? So that would be incorrect. What you need to do now would be this, okay? And that's how you do direct and indirect object pronouns.